Welcome to this fourth quarter Q&A for Inify Laboratories with CEO Fredrik Palm. Fredrik, your sales grew a massive 60% in the quarter and by nearly 500% since the fourth quarter of 2023. Well, what's the secret sauce?
Our mission is to deliver high quality diagnostics with a short, predictable response time. And the growth that we see both in the quarter and the entire year, I think is a very solid proof that we succeeded to do so.
But the third quarter, that was quite slow.
Yes, third quarter is slightly slower due to holiday season, but we return to our growth path in the fourth quarter as expected. And all in all, both in the quarter and the full year, we have a significant growth. And what's also on a positive note is that we see positive financial results in Inify Laboratories Nordics, the laboratory business in itself, both for the fourth quarter as well as for the full year.
But you have now a market share of approximately 80% in the Stockholm region, but only 10% for the whole of Sweden. So how do you plan to continue the growth path?
If I start with the Stockholm region, as you say, we are running the absolute majority of the prostate cancer diagnostics in region Stockholm right now. And that is evident proof that we add clear value for our customers. The customers that are currently using us has got used to how we support the patient pathway and shorten the response time with weeks compared to what they were used to before. And that said, we have a capacity in the laboratory which is higher than the entire Sweden's demand for prostate cancer diagnostics. So there are certainly room for growth. And of course, we have more ambitious goals than 10% of the national market.
You signed an agreement in the quarter, which is very important for that growth.
Yes, we signed our first evaluation agreement with the region outside Stockholm, and that's a very, very important step for us. We have dialogues with several regions around the country, and those dialogues are in general positive. However, regions where healthcare are provided by one or several regional hospitals generally involves more stakeholders, so it has a longer lead time.
Well, interesting. In the Q&A for the third quarter, we talked about the UK expansion. What's the status there?
We are progressing very well in the UK. If I split it up to several categories, if I start with the team in itself, we have recruited key personnel that are now, so to say, hired in our subsidiary in the UK. We formed our own subsidiary in the UK, Inify Laboratories Limited, in the fourth quarter. And we will continue to, together with those people, grow the team as we, so to say, establish ourselves in the UK. Location-wise, we are in the final stage evaluating several locations. So I expect us to make a decision within short about where to build the laboratory in itself. Client-wise, we have had and have a good dialogue with NHS, the public healthcare supplier in the United Kingdom, as well as private healthcare suppliers. And that's a dialogue that's been going on for quite some time, and we have deepened it even further since we spoke the last time.
And it seems like you still feel comfortable about starting operations early 2026?
Yeah, at this stage, when I look at the project, I feel confident that we will be able to establish ourselves in the UK and start clinical operations in 2026. In the meantime, I expect several evaluations to take place where we process the samples here in Sweden to get the proof of concept in place before we even start clinical operations in the UK.
But if we look at the Swedish market and compare it to the UK market, is it similar or are there a lot of differences?
There are quite a lot of similarities with a large public healthcare sector and a smaller private healthcare sector. One difference is that NHS has a very high profile when it comes to cancer care. So it's a little bit more centralized in the UK than Sweden. But apart from that, I would say, yeah, the market size, of course, differs.
Yeah, because we're talking about 5, 6, 7 times bigger.
Yeah, the market, it's very much related to the population. So the market is about 6 times bigger, which translates to about 120,000 prostate cancer investigations per year.
Interesting. It's clear that Inify has a position to be reckoned with within prostate cancer diagnostics. But you talked about moving into other diagnostics, gastrointestinal diagnostics. How are you progressing there?
We have a project which is entirely focusing on developing our system for being able to handle samples from the gastrointestinal tract. And this project is run in the same way as we did with prostate. Namely, we work close, in this case, with endoscopy clinicians and clinics to make sure that our future diagnostic service for this area supports the patient pathway in the best possible way.
If we look at the market size compared to prostate cancer diagnostics, what are we talking about?
Volume-wise, it's a huge workload for the laboratories. It's about 10 times more samples than the one on prostate. Monetary-wise, I would say that we are in a similar size as prostate cancer, but there is a huge need out there to get a better process for such samples.
When can we expect the first samples to go through Inify?
I foresee that we will make the first evaluations with real customers or clinical customers in the second half of 2025. And from what I've seen so far in the project progress, I'm confident that that's going to happen.
And that will, of course, happen here in Sweden?
Yes, yeah. Correct.
In the fourth quarter, you had a successful capital raise. The sales are going good. So how is the financial position of Inify at the moment?
Yeah, the funding that took place in the fourth quarter as well as closed in January after the end of the year was very important, of course. And we are really, really grateful for the trust we get from our shareholders, especially the larger ones that guaranteed the entire funding. And the proceeds in itself will, of course, be used for the establishment in the UK as well as fueling our working capital for development of the system and so on going forward. So at this point, we feel confident with our financial position and we have, so to say, fuel in the tank to run at the speed that we want to.
And if you look at the future for Inify, is it looking good?
I mean, the future is really, really bright. That's the only way I can look at it. I mean, we have, with the achievements we have, so to say, managed to do so far, we have a fantastic team in place that is constantly growing, and we are addressing a market with huge needs. So I can't see any other pathway than we are moving towards pushing a paradigm shift within this industry.
Impressive so far, and we're living in exciting times. So good luck, Fredrik.